Yeah, real life. Member left her bag
It's
and
the present moment. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea.green with ThinkLA, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday, where we strive to promote the importance of your life's wellness journey, both mentally and physically, at home and at work, with some daily affirmations, some messages, and some actions. Yes, some actions to help you get through your day. With August being National Wellness Month, we here at ThinkLA we felt really compelled to talk about an important topic that many are facing in our communities, the job market and its effect on our mental health and wellness. We are so happy to introduce you to a person whom I'm honored to call friend and family, Nathanael.green, who is the Employment and Education Specialist at Wellness Center South in Lake Forest, California. Hey, Nate. It's one of 3 wellness centers in Orange County, serving those who are working on their mental health and substance abuse recovery, and as they prepare to get back into the work environment. Nate, thank you so much for being here with us today. I've been wanting and waiting to talk to you because to share all the good work that you do. You know, we had a lot of conversations, right? And so many people are facing a job market that's, hasn't really been easy, especially if you don't have a really good toolbox or a plan of action on how to navigate the process and writing or updating a resume, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing the actual job research, making some connections, and let alone trying to go on an interview, right? It could take a toll on your overall wellness and your mental health, mentally, and I know physically too, because it can make you sick, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely, definitely. So I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you again.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Andrea. And thank you, ThinkLA.
Very well.
Um,
Very, very.
so before we jump in, I just wanted to say, like, so before I start something like this, any sort of endeavor, meeting, talk, whatever like that, I like to set my motivation. May this somehow be a benefit. And I know that you do as well. Everything that you're doing with Wellness Wednesday is obviously, trying to benefit people. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of put that in the forefront of my mind and our minds as we proceed.
Okay, so now it's going to be a major success. Thank you very much. I'm so excited about that. Thank you for that. And with that, just shows the person that you are, and I think what you do, and as we go further in this conversation, really will, you can just kind of set the tone for like why you're doing what you're doing. And so before we kind of jump into that too, maybe tell us a little bit about your personal mental and wellness journey, and like you kind of like what inspired the journey, and like the challenges you face and how it impacts your life.
Well, I'd say like, I grew up in a pretty intense family. People who were working with depression and, bipolar syndrome and this kind of thing. And my parents are, if they're not like full-blown narcissists, pretty close to that. So that created an environment in our family, in our house, that, there was a lot of uncertainty and distrust and whatnot. So I'd say, yeah, in my teenage years, started to do a lot of exploration as far as, trying to figure all this out and how to just kind of negotiate things and whatever. And, it's hard enough being a teenager. But yeah, kind of, with substance abuse and this kind of thing, kind of, working with that, trying to figure out, yeah, like, what's the best way to do it. So when I was younger, I read a lot of philosophy, I explored religions and all that kind of thing. And then through college, was able to kind of maintain that with some success. And then after college, thought I'd try to break into Hollywood and write screenplays and perform and all that kind of thing. But it just didn't, I never got that sort of that satisfaction.
He is a
Um,
poet, y'all. I just want y'all to know that he is a poet.
so I so yeah, so at one point it got to the place where I was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I actually ended up going out to a Dharma center in New Mexico. And I didn't go there to be a Buddhist. I had done some meditation. It was very difficult. My mind was very wild, but I thought that these people were doing good work. So I wanted to go out there and just kind of dig holes, get out of Los Angeles, kind of just, get away and see if I could kind of find myself. And I ended up meeting some people 13 miles down this dirt road who were doing some really good work, not only at this Dharma center, but they were working on themselves. And they were very genuine and very honest about where they were at. Sometimes people can kind of, we want to sort of hide things, but we couldn't out there. So we really had to kind of work with where our mind was at and the things that we were working with. So slowly, I learned to meditate. I learned to kind of, again, we just talked about setting motivation and that kind of thing as we were, even just digging holes and whatnot. So learned some things there for a few years and then decided to come back to LA. And I would say that at the time, I always saw it as like a spiritual kind of journey. But then fast forward to 2019, I decided to move to Orange County to be closer to my mom, who's in her 80s. So, to kind of help her out and whatnot. And then, so me and my brother and sister, helped her out, and she got to the point where she was stabilized and her health was good. And so I had this experience working with elders. So I decided, well, hey, maybe I'll, do that. I'll advocate for elders, which a lot of, seniors definitely need that. And so I walked into this place called the Wellness Center because I thought it was a senior center. And I met the director here, Raul. And the first thing he said to me essentially was, we're all somewhere on the road to mental health recovery. And that to me was just like, boom, that was the light bulb. That was it. Because that's what I had been doing since I was a kid, was really trying to get to mental health wellness. And so just like when I was out there at the ranch in New Mexico, digging holes and meeting these people who were very honest and genuine about what they were going through, the wellness center is this kind of place. It's a place where people are just honest, they're open about where they're at, and we're supporting each other as we're all working towards mental health wellness.
Yeah, I love it. Well, that is great. That is quite the story. I kind of love that. I definitely knew quite a bit of it, but it's great to like kind of hear it again, to know like the process and the path that you've taken and how you get that way. And people listen to that too, and they think, well, how can I get some clarity and help myself, my mental health too? So kind of talking about that, what advice would you give to somebody else who, just starting their journey, their mental wellness journey, their spiritual journey, or whatever it might be? And then I think the biggest part for me is a step further. How do you stay committed? Once you start doing it, how do you stay committed to it?
Yeah. Well, it's, back before I went out to New Mexico, I had a friend of mine who just kind of, we're having a conversation, and he said, if you step off the face of the earth, the universe will catch you. That's a very scary notion. But I do believe a lot in intention. Like if you're really like, okay, this is what I need, and you kind of put that out there, and then you just go. You have to get out and you have to go. Now, my case, yeah, I went out to the middle of the desert in New Mexico, but I think as well, like, it may take a lot of hunting and pecking. It might take going to support groups. It might take talking to people. It might be reading books. And I think it's really important not to necessarily like, the first thing that we read or we look at, we say, okay, this is it, because, we're hungry for something.
Right.
It's really important for us to be discerning. We really do want to kind of ask ourselves questions, not be disparaging, but we do want to be critical thinkers about what we're doing. Because, I mean, in Southern California and elsewhere, it's like there's a lot of people out there saying, hey, I know the answer kind of thing. But we have to find our tribe, our group of people who we're going to resonate with. And it might be 12 steps. It might be meditation. It might be, a religion that you grew up with and sort of moved away from. There's a lot of support out there, but really trying to find that. And again, hunting and pecking, finding places. And really, there are people in the world who do care about each other, and they want to be in that sort of environment.
Yes.
And so that would be my first recommendation.
Okay. And I love that you mentioned that, finding the help in the groups, because I literally, I do talk about Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday, right? So one of the last things I just talked about was having your support village. I always talk about having the villages, and the support villages, you need them, just people who are there with you to lift you up and to like help you feel like you're not alone, because so many people go through so many different journeys, ups and downs, and they may not talk about them. But once you open up, you realize, oh my gosh, there are other people experiencing things that, I'm silently experiencing. But if you open up and you let others in, it's strength. It's really is a lot of strength and a lot of uplifting support. So 100% agree with all of that, for sure.
Yeah, and it's, again, for me, like going back to the honesty piece,
Mhm.
just being involved in certain communities where people are honest about what they're at. But of course, we do have to have that community where people can do that. I mean, like one of the first meetings I attended here at the Wellness Center, I came in as a member, and I'm in this group of people, and this guy is talking about hearing voices in his head and how it's hard for him to live in a place where there's too many people living in the house because he's hearing this. And this for me was just like a sword that just cut through the stigma of schizophrenia and what people are working with. And of course, these are things that we can't talk about at parties or outside or what have you, but whatever we're going through, whether it's depression, whether it might be schizophrenia, whether, it's just run of the mill living in our society, anxiousness and stress, finding that community where we can do that, and people, we don't have that stigma and there isn't that judgment, is so important for our wellness. And really, again, finding that, because there are people out there who are willing to open their hearts and hear and understand, or maybe not understand, but at least be there with us as we're
Yes.
going through it.
Yes, be there willing to listen and make it just a part of what becomes something of a normal part of our conversation that we can have. I definitely, part of the language that I speak all the time is about, sometimes, getting uncomfortable in those uncomfortable positions. Just making that a part of daily life, saying, what, this is what people experience, and it's okay to hear it. Like you said, you might not understand all of it, but it's okay to listen. Just being open to listening is so key and so important. So yeah, very,
Yeah.
very happy for that.
And for me, like, I mean, I know there's lots of different ways to meditate. And there are the meditations where it's like, the music and you're sort of like the world is kind of pushed away. But like the meditation that I do is that meditation exactly what you're talking about, where you are willing to kind of sit and be with your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because your experience is so important. And for those of us who may have grown up in households or whatnot where people weren't hearing us or they didn't know how to work with our emotions, if we can learn to kind of hang out with ourselves and really recognize the experience that we're having, we really have a lot of wisdom that we can offer ourselves. But we do have to allow that space. We do have to allow ourselves to really slow down and become aware of what we're experiencing. And we'll see that we have a lot of love and compassion for ourselves, and then we can then bring that out into the world.
Love that. So, yeah, I think that's some seriously amazing advice. I needed to be taking notes on some of that stuff. So then my other part, okay, how you stay committed? How, like, I find myself, because I meditate, and I have certain beliefs and things of my own that I say and do and live by, affirmations and messages and things of that sort. But I don't all the time. There are some days, and I think we all have those days. You're like, oh, not today. I don't know that I have the mental strength to continue. What do you use personally? What do you suggest to others to help you stay committed?
Well, I think a big thing is, you talked about village and community. So it really is important to connect with those people who speak your language,
Mm.
right? You know what I mean? So like the meditation that I do, I talk to other folks who do similar meditation so that we do have that language. But I think a big thing too is, again, the motivation. May this be of benefit to others, because we spend so much time looking at ourselves. We get very myopic and really kind of ingrown in that way. And of course, there's a lot around us that tells us, well, hey, you need to take care of you and then everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, as a mother, what that does when you have to really think about somebody else and you really do have to be there for somebody else, and how that really kind of gives you an insight into your own strength. And so, I mean, we just facilitated a meditation group here, and somebody was talking about feeling very depressed. And like, if we can take that time and consider the fact that, what, I'm not the only one who's feeling that. There are a lot of people in the world who feel that. And if we can take that moment and consider, what, I'm not alone. And so what I can do is I can get up out of bed and I can go do something in the world, even if I'm just being there and smiling at somebody. So when we start to think a little bit more about others, we realize that we do have so much to give. And it's not about like, well, if I can just go out there and get that thing, if we really spend that time to recognize like this inheritance we have right here and right now. If you've got 2 arms and 2 legs, you got a mind that thinks, you have a roof over your head, you have those things. Taking that time every day to recognize that, we do, I think, okay, I have a lot. And so I have a lot to give and I can do that. So doing that whole kind of shift can do a lot to put a lot more space in our experience, I think.
Love it. See, y'all, you just learned a whole bunch about Nathan just on a whole personal level. And this is why he is a very special person. So thank you for all of that. So, now that everybody knows how awesome you are, because I already knew that. Tell us a little bit about this amazing organization that you work for Wellness Center South, and what you and your coworkers do there and how you help your members.
Well, again, like I said, it's a place where people can come in and it's really free of stigma. And it's we offer groups, again, we depression, bipolar support, Schizophrenia Alliance. We have AA groups, NA groups. We also have things like boundaries and codependency, but we also have art. We have music. We have a music jam twice a week. We go out into the community. We do hikes up in the mountains. We do litter cleanups. This Sunday, some of us are going to go show up to a free clinic that's happening in a free health clinic in Santa Ana. So it's just, it's a safe space. It's a firm container where people can, just sort of be where they're at. And then also, moving out into the community. Now, primarily what I do is I help people go back to work. And whether we've sort of got our stuff together or we are really working with, some mental health obstacles, the whole notion of applying for jobs, looking for jobs, like you were saying, developing your resume, is my resume right? Am I saying the right thing? All that kind of stuff is really anxiety inducing.
Yes, yes, it is. It's a stressful process.
So a big part of my job is absolutely working with people. And when somebody comes in and they say, well, I need to work on my resume, I'm looking for a job, I tend to focus on them, like what's important to them. What do you enjoy doing? And I don't mean like your job. I mean, like, what are your pastimes? If you like to knit, if you like to hike, if you like to play video games, whatever it is, those things are important to you. That's what you enjoy doing. And there's a reason why you enjoy doing those things, because you have acumen towards that. There are skills you're using in those things that bring you joy. And so why not try to develop, your resume around that? Or why not look for things that are in that area? And of course, we live in a society where, we're competitive. Many of us, if we went to college, there is that whole thing, and we're trying to get along and we're trying to do the things that are expected of us. It can be really difficult for us to move out of that. And if we are unhappy with the jobs that we're doing, it really can help us to just pull back and say, okay, what do I really enjoy doing? And then you have to kind of balance things like quality of life. You know what I mean? If making this much money is not a great quality of life and you're willing to make a little less, but doing something that you enjoy, gives you more free time, what have you, those are things to consider. And we don't have singular interests. I mean, I have people I work with who might have 3 and even like 4 resumes, depending on what they're looking at. But that's a big part of my job, is kind of trying to lower the anxiety and say, okay, let's try to put you in the best position possible. And then another big part of what I do is networking.
Okay.
So I need to know employers. I need to know people, like support networks throughout the county. I work with a lot of other employment specialists who know a lot of people that I don't know. They have skills and abilities. They have knowledge and expertise in employment fields that I don't. So we have to communicate with each other. I can refer my clients over to them. Hey, I got somebody who's designing video games or what have you, and that kind of thing. So I enjoy it because I get to talk to a lot of really great people like yourself who are motivated to help people out. And so it's fantastic. I love it.
I mean, you're talking our language. I mean, I think LA is what we do. We try to bring people together to connect and to help each other. And just as a person, that's what I try to do as a connector, to help people out. If any information I can impart to someone to help them along their journey, I'm always willing to say, hey, I know this person, I know that person, and connect anybody and everybody. That's what I do. I think that is so key to how we can not only obviously make those connections in life, but succeed in life, by just expanding our horizons and just talking to people. It's just so important. You were talking about balancing, work demands and personal well-being, and that's so crucial for your mental health. How do you really relay that message to people, to the members, to prioritize their self-care and to maintain a healthy work-life balance, especially with some of the life challenges that some of your members may have experienced or may be experiencing still?
Yeah, I think it's important for all of us to recognize, what our boundaries are, what our limits are.
Yes.
There's sometimes they call meditation like practice, right?
Yes.
So everything that we're doing, we're constantly practicing. Okay, so where am I at? And then the whole idea of sort of pushing ourselves to the edge of our practice, but we do need to know our limits. We really have to be aware, and that's that self-awareness piece. And so doing what we can as we can. I mean, I have a lot of folks come in. Yes, we get jobs, but they're only ready to work part-time at this point, And so like, okay, let's do that. Let's work part-time. And then as they start to gain that confidence, that's really important. And then two, I think is, understanding the resources that people can rely on. And like I said, somebody may not necessarily come to the wellness center, but there are a lot of people out, certainly in Orange County, and I'm sure in LA County and like throughout the country, who are helping other people, get jobs. And so going to those resources, I mean, EDD has their Worksource and their One Stop and whatnot. So if people can go there, they can talk to employment specialists. I learned a lot when I first started talking to them, back in 2005. I was looking for a job. And so that whole thing where you ask, like, how do people connect? Go out there and meet people, find out what they're doing. I think sometimes, like job fairs and whatnot can seem sort of alienating because you're on your own, it's hard to meet people, that kind of thing. But I think that if you find somebody who knows how to help you get a job, and again, you're connecting with a support network, that there's so many people out there who want to help you do what you're doing. Don't do it on your own. And sort of learn the tools from people who know how to do it.
That was something I was going to ask you. Like, do you have certain strategies that you give people to cope with the challenges or the uncertainties, and things of that? So what do you say to them? Is it kind of like a little playbook, or, I'm sure it's every specifics, to, each particular person? Like, what are some of the strategies you talk to them about?
Well, I hate to keep hammering it, but it's really community. So, I've quote been successful in getting people jobs, but I'm not doing it without all the peer support specialists that are here at the center, without the director and all the people, and then all, the family and the friends and all that kind of stuff who are supporting people, so that they know. And that, that's it. It's like when we're battling, with our mental health obstacles, it can become, very demoralizing. We can really feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. But if, we have that support and we recognize, like, sometimes we do need scaffolding, sometimes we do need support. And so here, the community and what the peer support specialists do in the groups is they're talking to somebody, maybe again, they're an NA or, I don't know, they're, boundaries or what have you. And so they're building up their confidence. They're giving them coping mechanisms that are helping them kind of work with what they're doing. So then when they come to me, I just get to augment that. And again, like I said, finding out, what are you interested in? What are you doing? Let's kind of move in that direction. Let's see if we can find something that you can do that you're going to enjoy. And I get the impression that you all are working with people who are, professionals, and they have degrees and, and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we're like, wow, I don't really want to do that anymore. But how do you restart? I get older adults in here who are like, well, I want to go back to work, but I don't want to do what I'm doing here. What am I supposed to do? And so again, going back to that whole thing of, what do you enjoy? Maybe we start doing something that's not as high paid, but you enjoy it. And then that kind of branches into something else. One of the things, sometimes it's difficult to get people to understand that, like, if you volunteer, if you get out there into the community, you're going to start meeting people. And again, if you put it out there, you're eventually going to meet somebody who's doing something that connects with the skills that you have and the abilities. But getting out there, and not just into the employment fairs, but go hang out and I don't know, go to like jazz night at LACMA or something like that, and start talking to people. Go different places, or
Yes.
go to meetup and go to different groups, to go to something you would never have gone to before.
You are speaking my language. It's all about Wellness Wednesday. I am loving that. You talked about, with ThinkLA, maybe people all have degrees and stuff, but we really do believe there's a lot to life experience in finding the job or your passion or what you want to do. And I think that is something that is very important. I think, especially with a lot that's happened in the past years in our country, it's not all about having that degree, but there's a lot to be said for experiences in life and what and what you've learned and how you can really help a company, help yourself, help others, whatever it might be, because you've learned a lot. I mean, I do wellness Wednesday, but I do not profess to be an expert, but I have a lot of experience that I feel. And as we've had this conversation today, we both overlap on certain ways that we said, oh, I agree with what you're saying, or the same kind of thing. And I feel that has what has prepared me to be here right now. And I talk a lot about just being in the present moment and where you are. And I feel like each of the present moments that I'm in every day, it is something that has helped me, that I've learned from my experience in my life. It's like, that's super, super important,
Well, I'm glad that you say that, because, we're not clinicians, we don't have degrees in, psychology or any of that kind of stuff. The model here is lived experience.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we come to work every day, we love what we do, and it was all the result of, what we went through. I mean, I described my story, and definitely there were times when it was like, I'm done, like I'm ready to check out.
Yeah.
And, just, by fortunate circumstances or merit or the grace of God or whatever you want to say, like, I'm in this situation. I've been able to get through it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't, but it's wonderful that there are people like yourself, people like the places like the Wellness Center, where people are using their lived experience to say, hey, I got through it. We're getting through it, doing that. So that's kind of amazing, because sometimes we don't value that, that very organic kind of earthy experience we have. We think it needs to be like, professional, but in actuality, that's so important.
Exactly. It really is. We were talking a little, obviously you're an employment specialist, right? So this job hunt thing can be super stressful, as we mentioned before. But because you feel a sense of rejection sometimes, you have that self-doubt, which all affects everything about your mental health, and it could affect anything inside your body as well, physically, to make you sick. And when your members are in this hunt, you have to help them maintain a positive mindset, right? And to stay motivated to keep coming back, kind of what we've been talking about, when there's job, rejection, when they have to go through that, or when there may be this unemployment thing happening right now. And that's so important what you guys are doing at the center, I think, because I feel like, as you talked about, the excursions, the other things that people are doing, to, going to a meetup or going to a picnic or going on a hike, those things are so important for the mindset. And I really appreciate that you guys are doing that, because you're helping someone with their mental capacity, but also saying financially, we're going to help you too, because you need a job, and maybe we can find that balance of something that you are passionate about or that you love. I think that's a great mix of what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, and it is too. It's, when we're looking for a job in isolation, it can be really difficult, and it's really hard to kind of, keep that up. And so, being part of a community, and finding that community that you connect with can really, bolster you as you go through that, because it is. And then two, it's like, everything that we experience, like all the phenomena that we're experiencing, it's the result of compound phenomena. It's all these things coming together. Nothing is independent. Nothing is solid. And so if we understand that we ourselves, and all of our beauty and all the merit that we have in this, again, this just everything that we have is just one part of it, eventually we're going to find something. We're going to find, we're going to become part of something. And so it's hard to kind of power through that, but we could be saving ourselves from kind of, really negative circumstances if we just kind of keep going, keep learning from that, keep relying on a community. And eventually we'll definitely, find something that'll work.
Yeah. Well, Nate, this is awesome. Do you have something else you'd like to add? Go for it.
But I just, there's a lot of jobs out there.
Okay. Yes, let's talk
So
about
there
that.
is, yes, it's a lot going. And so yeah. And I, if this is the time, thank you so much just for today, and then for being you, Andrea. You're awesome. You've definitely spread a lot of joy in the world, and so we're all very
Thank you. Well, you were
fortunate.
spreading joy and you were spreading employment. We love that. Well, two
Yes.
things that we need right now. And I really appreciate you being here talking about it, because obviously we talk about wellness all the time. Mental health is such an important part of that, and just helping people navigate through the processes when things are happening in their lives, so that they can take care of themselves, so they can take care of their families. And you guys are offering an outlet there for that. And I think, when we talk about kind of what some of the amazing things that we talk about today, the biggest thing I would say, community. I mean, that's been we've been
Yeah.
going back to, right? Community,
Hmm.
community, kind of like location, location, location. That's
Yeah.
it. Community,
Yeah.
right? Just
Definitely.
and as someone who does what you do, maybe, making sure that you help people implement some wellness initiatives while they're on this job hunt, and
Mm.
making sure that you try to help them instill a bit of confidence in whatever way you can. I feel that's an important part of what you guys do.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And I think, if folks are out there and they're sort of hunting and searching and whatnot, I would go back to that whole idea of volunteering,
Mm.
like, where can you show up? And
Yes.
two is it's like it's really great in a volunteer situation to just show up as you and just like, I'm going to be the one who's going to do the work. And
Mm-hmm.
people see that. We meet people, you make friends, you make connections, you develop the community, you become part of it. And so I would strongly encourage people to do that.
Yeah. And I would say to know that it's okay to ask for help and you don't have to do it on your own.
Right on.
So important. You don't have to do this whole journey and trek on your own. That's what community is here for you. And, and also try to incorporate some of the stuff that Nathan and I have talked about, and about, going out to a meetup, going out to have coffee, going out on a hike, do some knitting, and if you can incorporate something that's wellness for yourself, that works for you. If it means sitting down by a candle and reading a book, it means putting your feet in the water or jumping down in the puddle. For me, I like to dance in the driveway sometimes, So if it's any of those things, put it into your routine every day, every week, every month, whatever works for you. I would say those are some of the things that I think really can help us all, come together to really reinforce like ourselves for a
Mhm.
better and healthier, happier self and community.
Yes, definitely. Wonderful. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, because you can say that too, right? I love
I
it.
try my best. Yes.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you again, Nathan. From my heart, very, very happy you enlighten us to the great work that you do with the Wellness Center and the people there. And I know that it's a wonderful place to be and to go. And I know that your members are very, very happy and lucky to be at this place. So to have you all there
Well, yeah, this is
with
fantastic.
them. So thank you again.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to find out more information, Nate, you can give it all to us. Any contact information. If anyone wants to get in touch with Nathan, if he wants to find out more about the 3 centers are in Orange County, or any other resource that we may have talked about today, we're going to throw those up on our YouTube with this interview, with everything else. Nathan, is there anything that you wanted to add? Any resources that you think that people should be looking at, or any other things?
Well, there's a lot of resources. That's what I would say. So maybe, yeah, we can start with, putting that up there, and then, we're connected to all kinds of people. So if you all want to come in and have a conversation or call me on the phone, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And, I'll do what I can, because that's what we're here for.
Okay. Yes, we do what we can. That's why we're here today, right? Trying to spread some good messages and some good words out there, because we're doing what we can. That's it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Oh, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate all of you. And you know how we end the show, how we end Wellness Wednesday, what we do every day. As always, in this present moment, be well, be safe, be kind, and remember, you are more than enough. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye now.